Hi everyone, it's Raina. This video is for those people who are dealing with individuals who are exhibiting narcissistic behavior and happen to be born under the sign of Capricorn. The term narcissist is meant to be an umbrella term for what we would classically call narcissistic behavior, but problem personalities that mimic it. I'm not a mental health professional. I'm just using labels in order to convey my ideas. So, I've compiled a list here, and I'm just going to go through them and explain why I think that each one connects with the Capricorn shadow. So, the first one I came up with is using people to get ahead. Capricorn is a very aspirational sign in terms of worldly ambition. So a Capricorn sun, Capricorn rising can be this way too, although I think that Capricorn rising is more conditioned to think that this is the way to be, and they may kind of break away. Depends on what their sun sign is. Later in life, they may kind of like reject those values. It is possible that somebody with a moon in Capricorn can also exhibit these traits. And with the moon in Capricorn person, the mother may be, I was going to say the culprit in this, whereby, because the mother may have treated the child like giving them conditional love. And so the person could be any sun sign, but if their moon is in Capricorn, they may just always feel like like a performing seal that they have to achieve in order to be loved. So there's an emotional connection to achievement, and that can be I suppose I should include Capricorn moon signs, because I think that it could have a serious impact on their tendency to be narcissists. Now I'm beginning to think, could it be even more so than the sun in some cases? So I might start writing that, using that in the titles, so that more people, if you know your narc's moon sign, it'll reach more people too. So anyway, using people to get ahead. This is a shadow aspect of Capricorn. Also, Venus in Capricorn, people tend to do this in relationships where they gravitate towards those people who have positions of power or just status in society, and they may actually reject a beautiful human being that happens to be a bus driver over somebody who is a lawyer, because they perceive the lawyer to be more successful, more important, those kinds of attitudes that this type of individual has, and they can shut themselves off to love because of this, because you could call it kind of snobbery, but it's really it is snobbish. It is snobbish, but it's also misguided, because they don't understand, these types of people do not understand that status does not equate with a good partner. You can be with somebody who has a very impressive resume, and it'll be a relationship from hell that you can't wait to get away from. A lot of narcissists may be accomplished individuals. I'm not saying all of them are, but if you do a survey, maybe most of them are accomplished, but that doesn't really mean much of anything in the grand scheme of things when we're talking about dealing with them one-on-one. So this is what is so important. I want to reiterate, though, I'm not saying that Capricorns are narcissists. Some people are very, I was going to say simple-minded. I don't want to say anything insulting, but they're not they're not receiving. It's not about bashing signs. It's about looking at it from the perspective of when a sign is in its shadow elements. What are the things that happen? And we're talking about narcissism here, which is a very serious disorder. This is not about, somebody's, self-absorbed and they talk a lot about themselves. There may be people in your life who talk about themselves quite a bit, and they're basically good people. They're nice to you. They might listen after every hour that they're talking, they may listen to you for 10 minutes and stuff like that, but they're not destructive to your life. These narcissists are very damaged people, either from abuse as children or from trauma that is, abuse is trauma, but I'm saying other types of trauma, like the death of a parent, and it's some kind of a dramatic event that occurred, a traumatic event that really shaped their life. And so in order to cope with the aftermath, they have a tendency either to hyper-focus on themselves, which is, that is self-absorption, but they take it to an art form, but also the negative, cruelty, which is a form of trying to break somebody down so they can truly have power over them, because they don't really have control of themselves. They think they do, but they don't. They're out of control emotionally, and they're looking to other people to feed upon, like an energy vampire. So a narcissist who happens to be a Capricorn is an energy vampire in terms of, trying to get with the in crowd that are what we call the beautiful people, the people who are at the top of the food chain. And so they may employ all kinds of ways to do this, manipulation, if they happen to be, they might have a moon. You can have a moon in any sign, so they could have a moon in Gemini or Libra and be a schmooze artist and really try to suck up to these people to get what they want, because they know how to get inside somebody's head. Machiavellian tendencies with Capricorn placements. And not to say, Scorpios probably are the master at that, because they're like master chess players. But Capricorn, or maybe they have the moon in Scorpio. There you go. And they don't show their hand. So the thing is that, water sign people and air sign people have instinctual understanding of human nature in one way or the other. And so they may be able to manipulate people with great ease. I don't think Capricorn as a sign itself is really savvy in this. I think you would have to have water element or air in particular to really be the top-notch ass kisser. And the thing is, this is the thing about using people is the fact that it's treating people like objects, like pawns in your game. And I'm not talking about you, but their game, like pawns in their game. And so they are trying to, to accomplish things in life by using the people around them. This is a trait of all narcissists, regardless of what sign they are, because they really don't have much use for human beings unless it helps them. That's the damning realization that a lot of people come to, is that narcissists are just big time users, and they feel like, by any means necessary that they should do what they do. And of course that is not cool for people to be like that, but that's how they roll. Another thing is workaholic tendencies. Now you might say, well, what does that mean? Well, first of all, this is hyper focusing on oneself. This is about getting the obsession of getting ahead in life. And when you are a workaholic, everything else suffers. So if you have a family, your family is going to be deprived of your presence. If you are single, you're going to put all your eggs into one basket and you're going to say, my career success is more important than anything else out there. And you may really believe it, but the problem is that later on down the line, and why do I keep saying you? I'm so sorry. That person may really believe it, but sometime down the line, they may be bitch slapped by reality and find out that, it's like that song, by Pink Floyd. I can't think of the name. Was it called Time? And they say, I remember it haunting me when I was 15 years old or 16 years old. One day you find 10 years have got behind you. No one told you when to run. You missed the starting gun. I remember being like 17 years old and like, oh man, it's so deep, because it is deep. It's like the years do pass by. When you're young, things seem to drag on by, even in your 20s. I feel like I'm in a wormhole here, because it's like there's something that happened a year ago and it's like it feels like it happened 2 months ago, and I'm like, this is not possible that this happened a year ago. So, but when you're in your 20s, you might not think that way, and you may just kind of like be obsessed with, I have to be I have to be at the top of the heap. I have to be this goal, that goal met by this time, that time, and forget about your personal life. All right, forgetting about their personal life. I think the reason I'm addressing it like people are listening for themselves is because I've been getting responses from people who have been listening for themselves. So, now I'm afraid everybody's listening for themselves. And it's not supposed to be, unless you think you're a narcissist. Maybe you're afraid you are one. So I just want to, clear that up, because I know I'm confusing things like I'm addressing the listener. But anyway, so these kinds of things, when somebody is too focused, hyper-focused on their success, they can totally forget that there are other things in life, and they devalue those things. If they're already married and maybe even with children, they devalue those relationships by putting so much energy into their careers. Now, I don't want to suggest that every workaholic is a narcissist. I would say that you'd have to have more than one of these traits to be a full-blown narcissist. But you know what? At the end of the day, it really doesn't matter, as long as it causes pain to other people. Because if you're somebody who just believes it's all about you and your glory, your success, chances are you're not going to really care about the people around you. And this could be even like a friend that you have who's a narcissist. He or she may be like always in your mind bragging about their latest accomplishment, but never asking you about yours. It doesn't matter if somebody is proud of their accomplishments. That's great. I don't just automatically consider that bragging, but on the other hand, I do feel like it's something that should be coupled by taking an interest in the person that they're with. That's all I'm saying. Another thing is status seeking, and I guess that's kind of similar to, using people to get ahead, but just status itself, to me, is not the values of the spiritual aspirant. So in other words, if a person is seeking validation from society by their accomplishments, or by, the neighborhood they live in, or the clothes that they have, the type of things. Capricorns tend not to be like really materialistic like a Taurus person. They tend to be more interested in quality over quantity, and but there still can be that element of I want the best of the best. And that can what that can do is make the spiritual life less important. And I even wrote anti-spiritual because all earth signs may feel that what is really important is what is tangible. And I do believe that a lot of people who claim to be spiritual miss out on the importance of the material. And so I do agree that you can't, overlook the material, but to focus on it and be kind of indifferent to spiritual values, I think can lead to narcissistic tendencies. Because part of narcissism is seeing other people as not real full-blown human beings. It's like you're the person. If I'm saying it about me, I'm the only one that matters. No one else matters but me. So if you come in if you block my ability to achieve my goals, then you have to be dealt with in some way. So an example would be a Capricorn narcissist who is a parent who decided to have a child even though they work 60 hours a week. That child better not make any demands on that parent, because they're like impacting their ability to achieve their career goals, and their career goals are more important than that child's needs. And that sounds very harsh, but unfortunately that is how this person may operate. And I actually put here a cold indifference because, Capricorn is seen as a cold sign because Saturn is a cold, harsh kind of a planet. Now, and plus, Capricorn is an earth sign, so it's not coming from an emotional place to begin with. And so how this can play out is that the person can be quite callous. So if somebody is trying to state their needs to the Capricorn, they may be indifferent towards it. They may not get that twinge of guilt that somebody else. Again, this can be on the spectrum of narcissism, but what can really make it hard for even the kind of borderline narcissist that happens to be a Capricorn is the lack of feeling. So that kind of coldness, whereas somebody else who is kind of teetering on that edge of narc behavior, but perhaps was a water or fire sign, they might be a little bit more, it might, produce guilt feelings within themselves, and then they might capitulate. But the Capricorn might stand their ground because they just don't see how it matters, how other people's pain or point of view that the narcissist is being neglectful really matters at the end of the day. So, oh well. So, in any case, how do you deal with people like this? Well, again, it all depends on the type of relationship you have and the narc themselves. And if they are more of a borderline situation where you can see that they have a heart, that they do care, but they're just obsessed with their career, you can tell them, how you feel. You have to tell them how you feel, but you have to do it in a way that is not emotional. These kinds of people, I would say, like earth signs in general and air signs in general, these are the kinds of people that dislike strong emotions, and that will kind of turn them off and, close them down. So you don't want to do something like that. You want to, I was going to use the word confront, but that's exactly what I don't want to convey. you want to speak to them at a time when you're not at your wit's end. And you want to just be very clear about why it's so important for you to have more access to them. And if you are a spouse of this person, you can say, I love you. I miss you. I don't get to see you. Or your children miss you. They really care about spending time with you. How can we make this work? If the person refuses, gets defensive, whatever, you go to marital counseling and you try to figure out what your next move is going to be. But, if you are very unhappy because this person has, been, pretty much missing in action in your household, then you have to, be able to discuss this. You can't just let it slide. And if they don't show concern about your feelings, then you have your answer, sad to say. And then you have to make arrangements of what you're going to do about it. Some people may decide, hey, this person is a good breadwinner. I like the fact that my children go to, that we live in a community where my children are in a safe place. And I'm just going to go along with the program for now while my children are growing up. But if you decide to stay because you like your lifestyle or what have you, then you have to be okay with it. You cannot still try to get that person to change. You have to let it go, and you have to find other things in your life, whether it's friendships that can be nourishing and kind of sort of take the place of that spouse, or other activities, or if your children are getting older and you want to go back into a career yourself, whatever it is, but not to feel that sense of emotional abandonment. If you really feel strongly that your emotional needs are not being met and they matter to you, then you're going to have to make a hard choice, But it's not that cut and dried. Some people will sacrifice their emotional well-being, or I shouldn't say well-being, but fulfillment for their children's lifestyle, and also their children not being having their family torn apart while they're going through school. So that's going to be a trade-off for some people. If this is like a friendship, and you feel that your friend is either using you because you have a higher status, and this could even be in a dating situation where it's not really to the serious level yet. The best thing, I had a situation with somebody that I now think is a narcissist. And I pointed out to this person something that they did that, created a problem between us. And that person got very defensive. And, and I wrote back to that person and I said to them, I'm sorry, I didn't mean to offend you or anything like that. I just wanted you to, I was just asking you, because this person just didn't say goodbye to me, and they left when we had met for coffee. And I was like, what happened? Why did you do that? I questioned them. And the person got very defensive. And when I said, I'm sorry if I offended you, I didn't mean, and they said, oh, you couldn't offend me. One of those kinds of haughty displays. And we haven't spoken since. And, I want you to know that if you have a friendship with somebody and you finally are tired of just sitting there and listening to them speak in a monologue and never once ask you about your things or really seem interested in you, but they're just always talking about themselves. And you broach the subject and you say, Sally, I would love, I'm really happy to hear about you. I would like if I could share what's been going on with me. Also, I want to be like have a back and forth conversation. So can we do that? And if they take offense, your answer. And, it's kind of funny because sometimes people are like, well, I don't really want to lose this friendship, but is that a friendship to you? Because when this person did this to me, I felt like a sense of relief because it's like, okay, good. Now they can break up with me. I don't have to be the bad guy and I don't have to listen to that shit anymore. I'm sorry, but I had to say it, because that's what it is when it's one-sided. I was interested in what this other person had to say. I really was. It was just that it was too much. So I hope that this was helpful in kind of exploring these issues and how they may affect you personally in a relationship with such a person. One thing I want to say, if this is a parent, this parent may use you as a child, even an adult child, as their way to feel self-important, okay? And so in order to deal with something along those lines, you as an adult child have to be willing to be your own person unapologetically, but not like a bratty teenager rebelling. That's not being your own person. That's just simply a person who is rebellious really doesn't feel like they are worthy of any kind of getting what they want. That's why they have such negative emotions surrounding it. It's like a temper tantrum almost. No, what you say is, and you point it out, say, this is what I love to do. So if you're an artist versus an engineer, this is what I love to do. And if you like engineering, you become an engineer. But I have to follow my own path. That's what I came here to do. I can't sacrifice my happiness for somebody else's glory or bragging rights. Just isn't going to work that way. Unfortunately, a lot of adult children are afraid to kind of do that, or they're still kind of confused. I think when you have your first Saturn return, things become a lot clearer about your own path, and you kind of really individuate from your parents at that point, and that's helpful to kind of know where you stand versus where they're at. But this can be really problematic if you have one of these types of parents pushing their child. I should have really mentioned that as one of the traits of a Capricorn narcissist, because Capricorn is a sign that is associated with the father and families, the authority. So they tend to be very traditional and also very I was going to say authoritarian, but it's not. It's really about believing in experts and, what the status quo is all about. And let's say you're a child, obviously an adult child, but you're an Aquarius or a Sagittarian or, a sign that, deliberately challenges authority and the status quo. This will threaten this type of person because this is this is their religion in a sense, is believing everything that they've been told about life and wanting to aspire to it. So, this whole thing, what about if you're 18 years old and you don't want to go to college? You think that a lot of people who have become successful in life never went to college, and you figure that whatever it is that you want to do doesn't require a degree, so what's the point? Why should you do it? These are the types of people, these Cancer or Capricorn narcs, who would just like have a heart murmur over that, where they would just be like, oh my God, somebody actually thinking that college isn't important, because that's just what they've been brainwashed to believe, and it's tradition. And plus, what would the neighbors think if you didn't go to college? That I was just this riffraff, that I have children that aren't going to college. So that kind of keeping up with the Joneses thing too. So just trying to cover all the bases here. But anyway, if you'd like a natal chart interpretation reading or something like that, I offer those. And you can check in the description box for the link to my online store. Thanks for listening. Take care. Bye.